Welcome to Go Home Heat, a sports entertainment podcast. This is a weekly review of sports entertainment, which would be Raw and Smackdown. I am here. I am KP, and I am with Lit Nick, who sat in and watched Smackdown with us, which we will get to in a little bit. He was unable to watch Raw as he's traveling from the hills
of Savannah,
Georgia, the waters.
Yes, when you say Savannah, you would think like, the hills. You would think because it'd be like the plains.
He's up there in the old grad schoolio, and we have my man Ray here.
Hi.
As well. He
on
may
his
or may
phone,
not jump
checking
in.
Twitter, keeping up to date.
You never know what may drop.
I totally have
Never
Twitter.
know.
It could be anything that happens.
My man's on Reddit.
Like to
I'm all right.
wish all you guys a Merry Christmas. Would like to especially wish everybody who participates here with us, that being Ray,
Why do we even try to go on Reddit?
Anyway,
Nick,
man.
Jared, Justin, who's unable to be here this week because of, he's doing family stuff, which is good.
Busy man.
The lovely and talented Haley, who has helped us do all of this stuff and produced art and helped us get up and going. Steve Anderson, who helps us with the website. Also,
Steve.
Charles Gibson, who does the Gin Project, and manages to try to help us push the ball forward in those areas. And he has a nice website up and going where he sells things, and hopefully we'll maybe be selling some of Haley's goods in the near future, along with some of our stuff that is already up on his
Go Home Heat merchandise, possibly.
He doesn't have. He has it up there already.
Already. So
Yes,
what's
absolutely.
stopping you? Go support our boy Charles.
So now that we got the work out of the way, I'm going to talk
Did
Raw.
we not?
Oh, and
even
Daniel, who
did we not even mention?
has been helping us in the same sphere. Works with Ken. Daniel's
Did we
wonderful,
not even mention
wonderful human, taking
No, we
pity on
mentioned
me and
Jared.
helping me out.
we support Jared.
We said Jared.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought we were going to
Jared's
leave
on
him out.
two, three
We
shows
might
a
have
week.
forgotten Ray. We must have. All right.
Jared's become a huge part of the family as
right.
well. As well as everybody that we just mentioned have. And
Feliz
thank
Navidad.
you so much. Merry Christmas. Feliz
Merry
Navidad.
Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. So forth.
Festivus.
For the rest of us.
Yes.
And now Raw.
Charlotte Fair. Charlotte Fair.
and Flair.
As in she missed the tanning booth. No. She's Charlotte Flair comes out. It's promo time. And she's going to talk. But then, of course,
Who shall interrupt her?
well, it winds up being her and Asuka out there. And the heartbeat of the division is Asuka. And out comes the Empress of Tomorrow, the double champion of today, Asuka, who they won a title together
Yes.
at the pay-per-view. But before they can get anything out, comes Shayna and Nia. And they get to talking. And Nia says something that I had not noticed before. She does a shoot. First she says, you've been on the shelf for 6 months because I broke your arm.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't think that really happened, but that was kayfabe world, right?
Kayfabe.
And she said, and I had forgotten your robotic voice, and I had never noticed that Charlotte has a robotic voice in promos, and I don't think she does, but
I mean,
Nia said it, and I kind of was like, so I started listening for it, and then I started thinking, well, maybe she does. I don't know, maybe she does.
That's when the gaslighting starts.
Right.
That's how it starts.
Mandy and Dana come down, and they get to talking, and so then this winds up being the kind of thing where Charlotte says, well, why don't y'all wrestle? And we'll go over here and do commentary. And so that's what we get. We get Nia, Shayna versus Dana and Mandy. And this is okay. They gave it a pretty good bit of time for a match. And they gave Dana and Mandy a lot of offense in this thing.
Oh, that's good. What kind of offense did we see, out of curiosity, from Mandy and our dear friend Dana Brooke?
They've been working on some combo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mandy does the running knee. Dana's a strong performer, but they're just not as clean up wrestlers as lot of they got a high bar in this company with women's wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
and you really have to be smooth to look good in the ring.
I mean, especially because tag team wrestling itself is an art, and these two, have they tagged before?
They've been tagging together a little bit lately.
Okay, so they're starting to catch your, maybe starting okay, maybe we should do this and that. They're starting out. Finding themselves and
Asuka's on commentary, which is really the main event of all of this.
Yeah.
And Charlotte does seem to enjoy Asuka, and I think Charlotte knows a few words, and so she's able to kind of catch what she's saying, and then also Asuka throws out that broken English a lot. And
She says, Charlotte. I know that word. I know that one. That's me.
she keeps saying that she's for the sexy muscle friends, which would be Dana and Mandy, I assume, throughout the match.
That'd be really weird if it
I
wasn't
want that
Asuka.
to be their tag title names.
right.
I want sexy muscle friends.
They probably won't go with that for reasons.
Probably not the best, actually, but I think it's funny. What else we got? What happened?
Now, Baszler winds up countering and getting her submission hold in. She gets the win, but post-match, the Sexy Muscle Blondes, Sexy Muscle Blondes, Sexy Muscle Friends,
Sexy Muscle
Friends wind up tossing Nia out of the ring, and they clear the ring and start yelling. So it looks like they're going to be in the Raw version of this division.
Okay.
And there will be another women's tag match later in the show. The Hurt Business, and they're also pubbing that. One of the things they talked about over the course of the match that Asuka and Charlotte were watching was that Asuka and Charlotte will be defending the titles on all three brands.
All three, they said.
Correct. And Charlotte, they said, that's a lot of work. And Charlotte says, well, I've been in scenarios, because remember, she was in a program with Rhea Ripley for a while. She says, I've been in a program where I've worked all three shows before.
Yeah.
And she said, this is going to be way easier because I got, the
I
best
got
wrestler
Asuka.
besides me in the world doing half the work for me.
Yeah.
So I should be fine. And in the Hurt Business, they do the thing where they abuse some poor kid backstage again, because that's how they roll, and they're headed out to the MVP lounge.
Like,
now, to be fair,
what
they
do you
ripped
mean?
the New Day shirt off the poor kid,
What
and
do
then
you-
they put their own shirt on him. So in a way, they
What do you
gave
mean-
him a gift.
What do you mean by that? Do you mean like?
Some kid had a New Day shirt on that said, "How dare you have that shirt?" I'm betting.
But he was
guessing.
not a
You
kid.
mean, like-
He was
Not a
Oh,
child.
I thought you meant like they punched a child.
They found a
like that.
7-year-old
No.
and said, "I'm laying the Hurt Business
No,
on you." I'm like,
they're abusive to the backstage help.
yes.
That's what I meant by that. MVP Lounge, we have 4 people that are better than you, and I think that right now, I've said this before, don't use the catchphrase better than you, because there's a guy doing it really well on a different show. And just stay away from that. I've heard multiple people
And we
say
know it. We know
Carmella
it.
has said, I'm better than you. Somebody else has said, I'm better than you.
So only one person's better than me,
These
and
guys
I know it.
said they're better than you. MJF's doing that pretty good
MGF,
right now.
please review
Leave
our
that one
podcast.
alone. Come up with a different one, right? Cedric interjects during this whole talk about, and he is really feeling himself right now. And that's the whole dynamic in the group, is that now everybody's kind of got gold except MVP, and he's kind of the coach, but he also wrestles. And he's going to wind up having a match with the actual term for them is now called the Hardy Bros.
Oh, really?
yes.
Is that what we're
That's
saying?
Ridley and Jeff. And so MVP and Lashley are going to wrestle them later. And we're going to have the promos that lead into this match are where Cedric kind of takes over and again begins to push the envelope of, I'm the real main guy in this whole thing, which I think is driving Lashley a little crazy and Sheldon a little less crazy, but crazy still the same. And MVP kind of likes it, because MVP wants everybody in the group to be feeling themselves. That's how he rolls anyway. But I don't know how much longer, because if MVP continues to have issues where he's not winning, does he start to want Cedric to shut up now because suddenly his star is dimming?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting, because a lot of egos going on here. It's Hardy time. They do some form of a congrats, you won the match, and then I'll be honest with you, Riddle says a lot of stuff that just doesn't hit home with me, but I get that there is a market out there for his style of humor.
Yeah, was it the Harold and Kumar?
Yeah. Well, like here he tells them that, you need to, I don't understand why you spent all that money in VIP after you won. Why wouldn't you just want to hang out with the bros and smoke out?
Why don't you want to hang out with the bros?
Right,
and
that
go
kind of
to
thing, right?
The White Castle. And
Yeah. Okay, so then
what happens after that?
Then we get Angel Garza, who is the International Ambassador of Love. He is the thorn which protects the roses of the world.
My God.
And he's wrestling Drew Gulak. And this could have been really good, but they didn't give it enough time. The point of this is to get... I feel bad for Gulak, because we all know how great he is. And he was in this great program with DB on SmackDown, Daniel Bryan. And now he's over here on Raw, and they've had him in 24/7 stuff. And now They got him getting squashed by Angel. Angel gets him in the wing clipper. 1, 2, 3. That's fine. We'll move on.
Yeah, as an aside, real quick, the one person who I feel like has gotten the most, like, aside from Drew, I really want them to use Angel more in something. But, like, if we're just going to say, and we're just keep on giving you squash matches and just sort of hope that one day something will happen, it's just sort of like, come on. Like,
well, they're rebooting him.
They're trying to reboot him.
They've split him from
Andrade.
And he's on his own. He doesn't have a mouthpiece anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's the Latin lover. He had a little thing a couple weeks ago with Nia Jax backstage where they were kind of looking at each other, which would be kind of
weird, but maybe good.
Kind of neat because Nia's funnier than you think. She's cleverer than you think.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it could be kind of cool, but we'll see where all that goes because I do think they're extremely high on Garza.
I am too.
Yeah, I think they're very high on him. Okay, AJ's walking to the Miz TV. AJ's furious about the Miz interrupting his match. So why on earth would you go on the TV show, they say? And he's like, well, he better have a good explanation, and either way, I'm still going to be mad.
Yeah.
It's then, as he gets to the ring for Miz TV, the Miz apologizes, and it's not even really tongue-in-cheek. AJ's reading him the riot act, and Miz interrupts him and says, look, you don't think I know that I blew everything? You don't think I know I cost you? You don't think I know I cost me? He says, nobody respects me. I'm a former champion. I beat John Cena headlining WrestleMania. That was 10 years ago. I finally had a chance to be the guy, and I blew it.
Yeah.
I absolutely blew it, and I owe you an apology from the bottom of my... And he gets on a roll, and when the Miz is spitting fire and being semi-self-deprecating, he is great. And he was great here in this little moment. And then Morrison kind of sort of apologizes and almost says, don't absolve that dude because he's the one who cashed in the Money in the Bank thing to begin with. And that's when the Miz realizes, oh, wait a minute.
Are we seeing split?
Morrison doesn't have the right to cash in my Money in the Bank for me.
Oh.
I didn't. So the seed of me... So later on in the show, he gets on the phone with his lawyer and says, hey, work on this because I don't think I ever cashed it in. Oh. Because Morrison doesn't have the right to go tell the referee to cash me in.
A grand loophole.
That's what he's going to try to do, right? So, but then that turns into, of course, Sheamus and Drew and Keith, and that's going to be your main event of the evening. Would be AJ and Miz and Morrison versus Sheamus and Drew and Keith Lee.
Okay.
And so they get to talking, and it's okay. I mean, it's when I won, I went out drinking and had a good time, style stuff.
Partying or getting jiggy on these posers or whatever that.
But the kicker of this is as they try to jump the bad guys, the heels in the ring, AJ manages to drop kick Lee into Sheamus. And they already don't like each other. So this starts to stir things up, and the seeds of discontent are brewing. And backstage, what's going to be going on, the thread on the other side backstage is that Keith Lee and Sheamus don't trust each other, and Sheamus will not give him a reason to. So Drew has to kind of talk Sheamus down from a fight, talk Keith into trusting him in order to get this to go well. So that all's going on. That's the thread throughout the whole thing. T-Bar versus Ricochet. T-Bar pummels Ricochet early. I missed Dijakovic. That's one thing I thought about when I was watching this. He was a good wrestler. He was really good.
I mean, he's still there, but I still,
yeah. I mean, he's there. He's underneath all that stuff, but he was really good.
Just let him play. Ref.
Ricochet winds up taking out Mace and Slapjack outside the ring. I can't. Just reading this stuff makes me crazy. Okay, and T-Bar winds up attacking him there. Mustafa. And that's how he wants it said, though.
Mustafa?
He says he wants it said. Mustafa.
Okay. My bad.
No. I mean, he specifically makes a point of that. So that's why I said it like that.
I got figured.
Because I always thought it was the other way. But tells Ricochet to think about what he's doing. Ricochet punches Ali, which, of course, means he turns into a Dijakovic T-Bar, which Dijakovic T-Bar turns this whole thing into some form of an F5 go to sleep for a closer.
Bro.
Puts Ricochet to sleep. It was really good finisher. And so then they kind of read Ricochet the riot act as he's laid out on the ground as in, you need to come with us. And he does. He needs to come with them because Ricochet and Ali would be formidable
Yes.
And it would make this whole thing seem less like a clown show and more like
Ali put like respect on like what Retribution. Adding Ricochet would be like, okay, now we like you have these really great wrestlers in there with Dijakovic and me. Now it's like, okay.
Well, Ricochet fits with the whole.
He fits in with the idea
the whole dynamic of it, right?
Of being like left
uber talented and not being allowed to excel like he should.
Yes.
Right. Correct.
Gulag, where you at?
Right. He needs to go in there too. Then we get the Lashley MVP Riddle Hardy matchup.
And how did that go?
Well, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think Riddle's a really good wrestler. Jeff Hardy still moves incredibly well. Mm-hmm. He understands. He may understand tag team wrestling right now better than anybody, just because he's done it for so long, and that was the bread and butter of his career. And so even you could put him in there with a guy that he's only tagged with twice, and it's flawless.
Yeah.
And he gets a hot tag in here. So Lashley dominates whenever all these MVP Lashleys have the same dynamic tag matches. MVP gets in there, falls behind. Lashley tags in, dominates. MVP tags back in, falls behind. Lashley down. But it doesn't bother me because I like watching Lashley dominate. And it'd be pretty boring if Lashley went out there and dominated, MVP just laid down on top of him. That wouldn't work for fun. And so we do wind up now. Riddle and Hardy already have combo moves. Bobby winds up getting in trouble. Riddle takes himself out by diving into Cedric and Sheldon, who were outside of the ring. Jeff winds up missing a whisper in the ring. Jeff winds up on the top rope. Lashley gets him down off of that, and then Jeff goes for the whisper in the wind, and it just so happens that a whisper in the wind, that turning cutter that he does, also puts him in the best position a person could possibly be in to be in a full Lashley, full Nelson, because he just turns and his arms are right there for Lashley to grab. So the counter was simple. He's enclosed. His finisher is tailor-made for Lashley's finisher, so it works incredibly smoothly, and Lashley gets him in that full Nelson, and there's nothing he can do, and he's done for. And then we move on to Elias and Reichert, who Reichert's going to have a match against Grand Metalik, and I don't understand any of this or why it's on the show.
We need something to fill up time.
I don't get it. Elias doesn't need to be a manager for somebody. I don't know what's up with Reichert. But then Elias sits on the top turnbuckle to play guitar during a match, and something happens where Metalik gets distracted looking at him. Reichert pummels him 1, 2, 3.
Yada, yada, yada,
It's
blah,
over.
blah, blah.
And it's also weird because it has a feeling that Elias is trying to be some kind of a singing cult leader. And it's fine, but we've had cult leaders now. Seth's a cult leader.
We've had better cult leaders.
Right.
Like,
Roman in his own way is a leader.
Yeah, I get he kind of looks like the father from Far Cry 5. That doesn't mean that
So
we
does
need...
Seth, though.
No, it doesn't mean we need to keep doing it. I love the father, and I like Seth. That's
Seth
enough.
literally is the father from Far Cry.
He is. But now he's an actual father.
Right.
So now we need to replace it.
Right.
We've had better cult. We've had better cults. We've literally had cult storylines for the past 25 years.
What did you never expect to hear on a wrestling podcast? We've had better cults in the last 10 years.
Right. And you also have them throughout all of wrestling. You know, it's pretty commonplace now for the guy who leads a faction to be.
Is Retribution not a cult? Or is it?
It very much so.
It is.
I'm the leader of these people, so
And
how many are we going to have?
renamed them.
Mm-hmm. Right. I gave them names, put them behind masks.
What's the difference between him?
T-bar.
Now he's just like a dude strumming a guitar like a Pied Piper with the little southern twang.
Right. Orton addresses the public murdering of the Fiend next.
Oh, remember what time Randall Orton murdered set him on fire on a pay-per-view?
Right, for our pleasure. He walks over to the place, and he's really creepy here, which he's good at that, and he gives it the whole, this is where it happened in the middle of the ring. You know, I can
still smell the...
He said it. He said, I can still smell the burning flesh. It has a tendency to linger.
Oh, my God.
And he said it in a way like he's experienced this
All right.
strange smell of burning flesh before this, and it was just a reminder.
Maybe
I
he
enjoyed
just,
her liver with a side of avocado
Also,
and
he
a nice
said-
Chianti.
maybe he like overcooked like a steak or something.
And he also
And it was man.
he also said it in kind of a way like maybe you should be able to identify with this as well, which I can't. I've never burned it.
Don't we all burn a demon? Isn't that just the way of life? Don't we all?
Right. He could sleep because the voices in his head that always keep him awake.
He set Undertaker on fire, right?
He's.
I think he has. At least somebody fact check that, but I think he has.
Well, here's what happens here is he says that the voices in his head are gone now. And that's why he couldn't sleep, because now he's at peace after what he's done.
So
he doesn't.
Really, this fight with the Fiend has changed him.
Well, we'll see,
Who
because
knows?
then lights go out, spotlight, and Alexa Bliss is in the ring on a swing set, and
Okay.
she says this is Alexa's This is Alexa's playground that he built for me, and then she says, I hope you don't get. She runs off a couple of little play on words like something about barbecuing, something about going to the beach and beach burnt, that kind of thing, and then she says he burned that the Fiend burned into the mat, down into the ground, layers below. If he returns, he will be like nothing you've ever seen before. Lights go out, lights come on, and it's pretty creepy the way she did that, and also it makes me wonder, what does Bray have cooked up? Does he come back as the same Fiend, or do we get more? Does the Fiend come back and actually talk instead of grumble? Do we get a whole new Fiend?
This joke's gonna go over your head, but I cannot believe that Bray Wyatt is the perfect cell of wrestling. Ray got it, and Jared will get it if you're listening. Thank you, Jared, for chuckling at least once. But I say that it's a compliment, really, of more of a thing where it's like, every time you think he's dead, oh no, he's just gonna just eat someone and then just get back and be, I'm now more perfect.
Right.
Okay. What if
they actually just killed the Fiend?
I think that...
But they didn't. Here.
The way it looks like is like the Fiend is going to be turned into something else, because I think, and I could be wrong, he wanted to make something that was unbeatable and unstoppable, and it kind of, when they made him lose to Goldberg, kind of screwed the pooch. So
yeah.
One more time.
That would be interesting if he does come back as a slightly different character, and this time they stick with him and allow him to be unbeatable.
Yeah, this time, don't throw him at the title yet.
Losing to Orton could have changed the Fiend.
Because he burned...
Which is what changed him the first time.
It's almost like they tried to kill the Fiend first thing, because that was like the second thing he did, right?
The first thing he did was he fought Finn Balor. After that, I think he did something, and then after that, it was Seth.
Yeah, so they threw him into the deep end.
Yeah, so the way I see it is, we've learned from our mistakes. Bray is more creative than we have any, you're lucky he is so creative.
He's better than their writers.
He is much better than we have ever given him credit for.
Either that or he works extremely well with their writers.
Yeah, that or else he's just, very good with this improv. Okay, if this didn't work, we're going to switch it around and do this. I'm interested to see where this goes. Bray, let's see what you got. That's all I got for that. Yeah. We got Alexa Bliss coming in as, kind of a manager / other kind of person. Maybe they're going to start a cult. Maybe Raw, much like how AEW has 1 million factions, maybe we're going to have 1 million cults in Raw. Maybe.
Well, New Japan is only 4 factions or 5 factions.
Yeah, but what if all of them were cults?
Well, New Japan is, technically...
Okay.
Los Ingobernables.
All right.
They did have...
Let's get back to Raw.
Let's go. Remember Raw?
Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce are going to wrestle Asuka and Charlotte, and this is pretty good. Lacey, again, like I told Ray earlier today, in this company, there's a lot of people that can really go.
Yeah.
And like, there's the horsewomen, there's Asuka, there's
Bianca,
and maybe they're on one tier right now. Io, one tier right now.
Rhea
and then
Ripley, another.
The next tier is probably the bulk of the NXT division, and then below that is, I would say Shayna is in the top tier, and Nia is in that second group with all those other girls. And then like below that would be your Mandys and your Dana Brooks and which they're good. And in a lot of companies they would go out to the ring and you wouldn't think twice about it. Yeah. But when Peyton, I think they believe Peyton's going to be a big deal, and I also think they think Lacey's going to be a big deal, and we've seen Lacey give us good matches.
It's taken her a while. Like they threw her down in the deep end real quick, and she's been able to. Given her time, she's really been able to prove herself.
But I really thought this was going to be a little bit better than it was. But it was okay. It was okay. And then, of course, Charlotte winds up, she wins with the figure 8. And that's fine. Now we're going to move on to they are teasing big shenanigans with the six-man tag. And
no.
As in Keith Lee and Sheamus are probably going to fight, or AJ and Miz Morrison are going to fight with each other. Like that style of shenanigans. And so we get this match, and I thought it was very well done. Keith Lee gets to be the hero a lot of the time.
As he should.
The ring is surrounded by Christmas stuff. So you have the spot where a guy gets thrown into a table that has eggnog on it. A guy gets thrown into... At one point, John Morrison was just slinging Christmas presents into the ring.
As one should.
Yes. Then, of course, Morrison gets thrown off the ring apron, and he lands in Omos's arms, the huge bodyguard guy for AJ.
Yes.
And you think, okay, well, he's saved, but Omos doesn't like John, so he puts him through a table.
Again?
He cradles him like a baby and then picks him up and throws his baby through the table. Yes.
Second time's the charm, I guess.
Absolutely.
All right, so what happens? Who gets the dub? Who
well,
picks it up?
Well, the good guys wind up getting the dub there.
All right. How so? Who does the pinning and on who? Out of curiosity. Again, gang, I did not see the episode.
The ending is Keith Lee spirit bombing The Miz. And that is not the end of the show, however, because that winds up being only the precursor to post-match when Sheamus kicks Lee in the mouth.
Oh.
Puts him down, and then Drew is furious with Sheamus. And so here we have an issue where Sheamus and Lee will probably have a quick program leading to Sheamus
versus Drew.
Which I believe would be where he goes next.
Yes.
And so that, a lot of times when you talk Raw, you can feel a little bit like you're
slowly going insane,
pulling teeth. It's not. I don't dislike the show. I like the show actually, but it's a lot, And I really love SmackDown, and we get to talk about that.
Yes.
So let's do that. We start out with Howie Long. Oh, that was the end of the football game. My bad. And so they lead you into, which I think that's a big deal, because they lead you into SmackDown, and so you have this national audience of a PM football game. So you have an opportunity here to grab some people that aren't always watching wrestling.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And a prospective fan base because they like football.
Because that's something that AEW had, because they were just following a football game, and suddenly
it was basketball.
I know it's different, but the point is there was a bunch of tweets saying, "Wow, look at Jericho! I haven't seen that guy in years" and stuff.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the numbers after the AEW show post, the numbers didn't change. NXT went
on what?
Unopposed. By AEW, because AEW went after the.
Yes.
Yeah. And one thing I haven't seen anybody say is their numbers didn't change. They were acting like, well, NXT should have won. Well, NXT had the same numbers they always have.
Mm-hmm.
AEW, they still were 700-something thousand.
Yeah.
So they had the same numbers they always have, which is interesting because I'm sure millions of people watch the basketball game.
Yeah.
And they didn't mean, like what we just said, a lot of them looked at Chris Jericho and turned the channel. Twitter was ablaze
Yeah.
on poor Jericho.
Yeah, I'm sure that you probably say this for the AEW podcast, but I did want to say that some of the dunking on poor Jericho, man, unnecessary. It still made me.
Describe how they dunk on Jericho.
Dude.
They're like, you know how people talked about the Junkyard Dog, like in his later years.
Well, just
like, wow, that man's fault. Like, that man has got a beer gut now. Blah 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 blah.
Right. And I read a lot of this. What is this WWE knockoff show that Jericho's on?
Yeah,
that kind of thing. But like we were saying about, it's completely unfair, right? But by the same token, when you're trying to reach more,
just because I feel like a lot of these people, just kind of people who are saying it's a WWE knockoff, are just like, just because it's a different wrestling show doesn't make it a WWE knockoff. I see that in a lot of different communities.
Well, no, they were just saying it because they only know one wrestling company because they don't watch pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But here's the point:
they're just saying that because they're trying to. I'm sorry.
No, you go and then you can go.
No,
Kev, you go.
What I think I kind of was wanting to just get away from that because that has nothing to do with this. I was talking about. But the point there was when you're trying to reach a bigger audience, which is what they were trying to do. What AEW went to was Jericho because he would be somebody people recognize.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was technically.
What these guys did was they took their champion and they stuck him in a steel cage with Kevin Owens. Mm-hmm. And that was the way they hoped to make people pay attention and watch this show.
Whether or not it worked, we don't know because it just
we'll find out tomorrow.
Happened.
And it'll be totally different anyway because they usually get $2.5 million.
Yeah.
Right? And or 2.2, something like that. So, they would have to do like a 3 for it to matter.
Yeah.
Right. But by the same token, it was interesting because in theory, you have eyes on a product when it first starts that you don't normally have. Yeah. That's where the similarities of the two end, right?
Yes.
Now, I thought this match was great. You were here for this? What did you think?
I was here for this. I was big, when I first started, I was a bit confused about why we were seeing the match again, and then I realized, oh wait, it's Christmas, and B, we did just come off a big football game. But the match itself, I'm trying to compare it to like the match we saw at TLC, and I don't know, but this match, first of all, very very good. Before I even get into anything, but there are some moves in here that I'm surprised I didn't see used, like
at the other one.
Yeah, like there was this transition into a leg drop that's still in my mind.
Pop-up power bomb. Yeah, they wound up doing like a reverse.
Yeah, like Roman got put into a power bomb position and then just immediately just shifted his leg and just immediately leg dropped Kevin Owens onto his back.
Right, and if y'all could do that, why didn't you do it last week?
I mean, you saving this for the show, not the pay per view.
Yeah, right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Your last match was great, but so hello.
Right. The spot where Roman has him put away basically after two segments of one segment where Kevin was on top and one segment where Roman was kind of on top, and then Roman has it back and forth and he's walking away and he's running his mouth and it's over, and Kevin crawls, grabs the leg, and he thinks that he's going to continue to berate him. Yeah. And Kevin slams the door on Roman's head.
Roman's like, I'm peacing out. I'm done here. Because he speared him and he didn't go down.
Right.
That was the main thing. He was like, okay, I'm
not going to try to pin him because I'm just going to walk away from him because I can't seem to pin him.
Yeah, because I feel like in the character that's like, I'm getting frustrated. When I get frustrated, I lose focus. So I'm just going to be calm about this. But what happens is Kevin Owens is very good at really making you mad.
Absolutely. And so he winds up slamming his head in the fence and then slamming his head on the chain for a while on the slamming his head in the door and then on the fence. Yeah. And that turns into him dominating action for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Even when when Roman decides he's going to go for a spear, it gets countered by a knee to the head, and then a cutter. Again, it looks like this thing's over. He's leaving, and Jay comes out and gets hit. Or Jay comes out to try to hit Kevin Owens with the door, but that winds up being Jay who gets hit and knocked down. More fighting happens in the ring. Eventually, Jay somehow manages to handcuff Kevin from the outside of the ring to the inside of the ring to the steel cage.
But in the perfect spot, though.
Yes, to where his feet were a foot off the ground and he couldn't touch the ground.
Yeah, it's like one of those thing like you were mentioning. Did they had to have measured that? Something that you say, KP, like they had to know exactly where
exactly
to
how
put
far
that
can you
thing.
stretch, right?
Because if you put it one little chain link a little later, he would have been on the ground.
Right. And so Roman's able to just walk out as Kevin is telling him what a female dog he is.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I liked it. I actually enjoy Kevin in this position. And we talked about how on the show that we talked about how on the documentary Kevin had said I need to know whether or not I need to go in there and try to talk them into doing this more than just one match. Mm-hmm. And he must have had that conversation and he must have won because it looks like he's going to get to keep going with Roman. And I love it. I love Kevin being in this position where he's the most important thing on the show. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that we're going to postpone the Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is having a feud with Jey Uso as Kevin Owens is having a feud with Roman Reigns. When Daniel Bryan defeats Jey for
we'll get
in a feud,
mm-hmm.
not just in a match, but in a feud, that puts him in position to win a Rumble, which we'll get to that, which puts him in a position to challenge. And this being prolonged gives us a chance to have a really great, because Kevin Owens is a bigger version of the I can't be beaten.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel is the ultimate I can't be beaten.
He is a master.
So we go from one of those to another, even though their wrestling styles are different. So it should be wonderful television.
One's more of a brawler, the other one's straight grappler.
Right. And oh boy, we go in next and we have a women's division. Charlotte, Asuka versus Bayley, Carmella versus Sasha and Bianca. And this is our tag team match, and this will take us to maybe
three-way elimination,
possibly 15 minutes after the hour. This takes us to, and so we have two matches and very little talking.
Yeah, they have a little talk at the beginning, and then and we're getting into the fight.
What did you think of this match?
Oh, there's so
much talent.
Like I was saying this earlier, because like you have three of the four horsewomen.
Asuka.
You got Asuka, you got Bianca Belair, and then you got the recently redone for some reason with XC of Gold as her opening, Carmella.
Like you said, you thought Ecstasy of Gold was weird till you said that, and you're like, oh wait a minute, she's
because
probably trying to win a gold belt.
And also like she's a very glitzy glamour ecstasy of gold.
Right.
I get it. I'm sorry. Whoever did that, funny, but I don't know. I might be overthinking that, and they probably did not intend that at all. But the match itself, I thought, was very, very well done. Like this is like the women's division of WWE on all cylinders, I feel like.
Yeah, Bayley was great during this thing. She winds up taking a pin.
But also you had that really great back and forth with Bianca and Charlotte.
It was. That was great, and it kind of teases what they could do.
Please.
Every time you see Bianca in a ring with somebody right now, especially if it's one of the stars.
The thing is, we've talked about it because in one of the last Rumbles, I remember like Charlotte and Bianca faced off, and everyone, and I remember you and me said at the same time, "We need this."
Yeah, absolutely.
And now that it's like, I still need this.
Yeah. Well, Bianca's, but every time she gets in there with one of these big names, it's like a teaser of what she can be someday.
Yes.
Because these other guys are what they're going to be, and they'll probably be it for another 5 years. Within 2 years, Bianca's going to be on their level at least.
Yeah.
And because she's as physically talented as anybody we've ever seen in the women's division.
For me, I feel like she was the main takeaway, even though I loved what everyone was like. You had Charlotte coming back doing her thing, Bayley being insane. You had that Meteora onto Charlotte's
oh my God,
face.
Yes. Charlotte winds up with the figure eight on Bianca, and
out of
Sasha
nowhere,
out of nowhere hits her with a Meteora.
It's like she's like 2/3 of the way down in the ring, and she just somehow does the miracle on 34th Street, somehow. But anyway,
and Bayley and Carmella, who can't stand the fact that Sasha has bested them, or that Bianca has given Bayley trouble, wind up cheating to take Sasha out.
Yeah,
which causes Bianca to catch the. Well, actually, Asuka winds up giving the hip check to Sasha, knocking her off the apron into that guy that protects
the
Mella.
sommelier man,
and that winds up
Reginald.
That leads to a chain of events, which causes the natural selection to put away Bianca
But
Belair.
I did want to say real quick before we get to the ending of it, the reason why, obviously I feel like the main takeaway from this match, save from All Talent, is Bianca stole the show in many ways, but for me the main one was when the figure 8 was on Bayley and she leaned down, took her hair, threw it out to Sasha, and Sasha grabbed her hair and pulled herself to the ropes like Rapunzel. It was like,
what a good spot.
Because usually when someone grabs the hair, it's like an owl, but with Bianca's like, no, you can pull, it's fine.
Well, she had a hold of it.
Yeah, she had a hold of it,
so it wasn't pulling her scalp. Right, yeah. right.
It's clever and it's nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
Absolutely, it's pro wrestling. That's what it is.
Pro wrestling.
Street Profits are talking smack backstage. Sammy rolls up on them. First, he's threatening some poor lady backstage. Not threatening her. He's berating her because he believes she's involved in the conspiracy to keep her.
Or social media.
To keep his title.
Because I have a lumberjack match. This
lose.
Was you, wasn't it?
And then the Profits give him a shirt that they have changed around for him that says he was the Intercontinental Champ because they believe he will lose.
Aha! And can we not have a laugh track? I said this on the thing.
Ray, you like laugh tracks, don't you?
You're a big fan of laugh tracks? That's a yes. Oh,
no,
right. I'm kidding.
No, I don't.
For those of you who don't know, there was a dead stare after we asked him that, as though he was offended deeply that we dare ask him this question.
Okay, laugh tracks. I think are a problem of a bigger extent, of a bigger problem, not within the world, but no, just like with WWE. If WWE is using the laugh tracks, stop the piped in crowd noise. Just stop it. I don't see the point of it existing.
Anyway,
laugh tracks
the point is
are for talking dog TV shows.
I'm just saying that.
Ray.
No, I'm saying we need to get more Tango and Cash.
But
the point I was trying to make is the fact that it would have been funnier if there was dead silence.
Right. Anyway. So now we're going to get a Jey Uso.
Also, no, I'm not a big fan of laugh tracks. If you could.
Dead silence.
Jey Uso versus Daniel Bryan is next, and Jey jumps Daniel before they even get started, beats him up real good, and then they get into it more and more. We have a long match. It is very good. These guys are fantastic workers. Daniel Bryan wins with his running knee eventually. Jey pummels him pretty good the whole way out, even to the point where we thought for a second Daniel might be hurt. Not really. He was being so sometimes there are people hard. That who was it that bothered me the other day doing the convulsion thing? Somebody in a match.
Was it in the AE Dubs or NXTs, or was it on one of the main?
Man, I can't remember, but whoever it was, they had a history of head injuries, and it was really bothering me because I didn't want them to sell that.
Would it? The only one with head injuries history that's coming to my mind is Matthew Hardy.
It wasn't Matt.
But I'm betting it wasn't, because you probably would have said it off the bat.
It would have bothered me even worse if it had been Matt. But anyway, he was being so cartoonish with it. It didn't, I didn't think he was really out of it. You know what I mean? But, and Daniel has a history of head injuries as well. But so then, of course, Jey waits for him to get up because he's going to kick his head off. And when he does, that turns into Daniel ducking and getting a 1, 2, 3. And did you like this?
I did. Daniel Bryan is still one of my favorite wrestlers, and yes, out of all 4 of the matches that we got, this one was the least spectacle, but it was the one that was the most consistent wrestling match that we got. So I was thoroughly, not just sports entertained, just generally entertained.
Jey has been in a position where he's getting to tell the story of becoming a force in the singles division while being the basically hitman for the world champ, the Scott Hall of the NWO, the Tully Blanchard of the Four Horsemen, the guy you got to go through to get to the man.
Yeah.
And he gets to tell those 2 stories, but he's getting to do it in matches with some of the great workers in the history of the biz. Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, Roman himself.
It's very good.
Put him on this path.
It's very good also the fact that, or at least for his character, that he did at least one competent thing. If he did handcuff Kevin Owens, so that way at least you won't get to think of why is Roman still letting him hang around. He's good.
Right.
He's still competent.
And Roman will give him that tough love next
Daniel Bryan
week.
is Daniel Bryan.
He's gonna get in trouble. Roman's gonna give him tough love next week.
Oh yeah,
He may eat a chair or something.
There's gonna be some.
But the payoff when he turns on Roman is gonna be so much more too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at some point down the road. Lumberjack match. Oh, Daniel Bryan does announce that he's entering the Rumble. He's never won it before. Give me Daniel Bryan in the Rumble. Give me a program with Daniel Bryan versus Roman for that whole lead up. I am all in, and it would be the best thing you could possibly do.
All money.
One guy who's in the best form he could be in right now, with a guy who's been a fantastic guy on the mic and in the ring for years now. I can't. I mean,
the ultimate babyface versus the ultimate heel. Like, you can't write it better.
Unless you're going to fast track what happens next, that's what I want.
Yeah.
But it's okay with me if you fast track what's happening next. We had Sami Zayn in the ring versus Big E. And it is a lumberjack match, and it is for Sami's Intercontinental Championship. And I thought this was much better than I had hoped it was going to be. Whenever Big E falls out of the ring, the problem with the lumberjack match is only the heels beat up the face. Only the heels beat up the faces.
The faces are like, oh,
the faces throw them back in the ring.
Yeah.
But so Big E keeps falling out of the ring and keeps getting beat up, and then it comes down to where Sami does. What do you call that dive he did over the top rope, right?
Dive. I don't.
It was beautiful.
What does Kenny call it?
Remember.
Kenny does it. He does the Terminator thing before it, so I think it might be some kind of Terminator reference. Oh, Jared, if you were only here.
But it's beautiful. He did a dive over the top rope.
It was the move Kenny does.
Yes.
Same form too.
Yeah, where it looks like an angel flying out there.
And in Sammy's defense, he's always done this ever since he was El Generico in Ring of Honor. So it's not like he copped this from somebody else. Not to mention, Sammy's old enough; he ain't copping moves from people. He can use his own. You know,
he's got his own history.
Right, and he does that onto the lumberjacks who are beating up on Big E. Actually, they moved out of the way and just let him land on Big E, which Big E is Big E, so it's a soft landing. And then they fight to the other side of the ring where Big E does a suicida tackle through Sami, through the middle rope, through Sami, onto the ground, which leads to more chaos. And then you have a brawl with everybody involved. Sami sees what's going on after he recovers from being tackled and slammed into the ground and tries to crawl away from everyone. Apollo chases him down. Apollo has quite good foot speed.
Yes, he does.
The Street Profits get down there as well, and then of course Tucker, being a little bit more thick-legged, gets there a little later and helps. And they
no,
pick
not Tucker.
Sami.
Wasn't it Otis?
I said Tucker and I meant Otis. I apologize because he would be the thickest of leggers.
Yes.
And besides Big E, whose legs are crazy. And so they pick up Sami. They carry him down like
he is a jolly good fellow, but of the worst possible.
Right, and they pass him through the middle rope over to Big E, and Big E gives him the slam, the splash, and the big ending. And then we have the confetti coming down upon our newly crowned champion.
And new!
And Sami crying tears of sadness.
Yes.
Now,
Wonderful.
What did we think of this show?
It had 4 matches, and all of them were great. It was nice.
Now, I want to go back to where we were when Ray was talking about AEW for a second. And I want to talk about the way they went about it in the audience and exactly what Ray was talking about.
Okay.
Interesting that what SmackDown did today was a wrestling-centric shenanigans involved in the matches. So it wasn't like they did not try to convince their audience it was a different product than it is every week.
Yeah,
right? Like you didn't have Roman go over clean because he's the big name.
Yeah.
Because more people are watching. You didn't have, the heels when they excelled. It was a pro wrestling style sports entertainment show.
It's
from
sports
them
entertainment exclamation point
with less talking than normal.
Yeah.
More wrestling. 4 matches.
Yes.
All of them more than 15 minutes.
All of them had at least one commercial break in them.
Yeah, some too. And AEW also did kind of what they do, right? And go back to what you were saying, Ray, about what you think, if you don't mind, about what you think the AEW show was, or what you think about the fans who were
Duncan.
What I
Duncan
think
on it.
about what I think about
Not like derogatory about those particular human beings, but go ahead.
Oh yeah.
what I think about not all of them, of course, but people who just kind of say stuff like that is they're just kind of grasping at straws to really dislike AEW when they don't even really watch the product. And it happens a lot with WWE too, but because WWE is such a bigger platform than AEW, it can tend to seem like they're a bit like an unfair fight every now and then, because WWE is just this... WWE is weird because it's so much more different than every other wrestling product, where it's just so huge that...
And there's so much inside of it.
Yeah, like, how many views does AEW get? Like a couple 100,000. Right?
Yeah, like 700,000 is
A
the number that's being...
They've gotten close to 1 million before, but they haven't really gone over.
They've hit 1 million once or twice, I think.
How many views
Twice.
How
Twice.
many views does Raw
The
get?
first week, for sure.
Yeah,
And then
Raw hit
once
a
again.
low, but roughly it's hitting around 1 mil to a little bit less than that right now.
No,
I believe,
Raw
right?
hits like 1.5 mil, 1.6 mil. Like their
Yeah.
all-time low is like 1.4 mil.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So, but now
remember.
Again,
Exactly.
so it does feel like
I will...
a bit
Yeah.
a bit like an unfair fight. It almost feels like...
But
I
here-
have
here's what I
a
want to
I have a
go
theory
ahead, go ahead.
myself. Most people making these comments about Chris Jericho about the WWE ripoff, I think it's because, frankly, like, other than WCW, that's all they've known.
It's been the only. Well, here's
Yeah,
what
it's like
you
it's
had,
the only
right?
thing there.
Here's
So-
here's what I think.
And
you
it's
had.
unfair because they was like, okay, it's just a new thing.
And I think we can compare it to. I think we can compare it to Impact, and I'm going to try to tie all that in together.
Okay. Get impacted.
You have an audience who does not watch AEW.
Yes.
The only thing they really know in the last 30 years is WWE. Chris Jericho, they associate with WWE because that's all they know.
Yeah.
And he shows up, he walks out there, and they're just looking for their mind just associates with something. But here's the thing. So to me, I'm thinking the same thing I thought when I read the Impact Twitter feed. Because I actually I follow the NBA Twitter and I follow wrestling Twitter.
Yes.
With two different, one's my personal and one's my not professional, but my podcast thing.
Yes.
Our podcast
Our
thing.
podcast.
I do our podcast. Okay.
On Twitter.
I do the Twitter feed. And so I'm in a weird position to have seen a lot of both.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like here's what AEW was trying to do. We're going to try to put our product in front of the eyes of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right? And if 200,000 more people see it and give it a second chance, even though 2 million people looked at it and rolled their eyes,
Doesn't
it's
matter.
still
They-
200,000 more
We
people
got
saw it.
200,000 more people, and that's all that matters. at the end
Correct.
of the day. Like, who cares?
Right? Impact Wrestling, their number is the same exact principle. We're bringing Kenny Omega in here. AEW has a fan base that probably does a lot of them probably don't watch Impact.
Yeah.
So when Kenny was on Impact, my Twitter feed of wrestling is rolling with people complaining about Impact being an indie
I
show
heard
and
about
sucking,
that.
right?
Yeah, because like it is.
Well, Impact A doesn't
Similarly-
suck, but you gotta
Similarly, it isn't fair to Impact.
any wrestling show you want to watch, you have to immerse yourself in it, or you're going to fall out of favor. Or
I also-
you will mentally fall. It'll fall out of favor with
I
you.
also feel like a lot of WWE fans tend to go after the. Again,
Well,
not
this
all,
seems to
but
be
a lot
less
of-
about WWE
These
fans.
weren't
and more about
WWE fans,
sports
though. They were NBA fans that
NBA
don't
fans
watch
made these
WWE.
comments. Not WWE fans, but
That-
people came from the NBA.
That's my point.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these NBA, the WWE folks, they don't
But-
like.
I
they
was
come,
just
but
gonna
they
make a
don't really care.
generalized statement on like the WWE AEW thing. It feels like both WWE and AEW, of course, they both do have their advantages and disadvantages. I feel like a lot of WWE fans say, "Oh, well, WWE can do anything, and AEW fans will still not be happy." Oh, WWE can do anything, and people will still be mad. WWE are still getting 1.3 mil a week. Like,
Yeah, right. Now back to this. What I was saying about
not-
AEW
yeah,
and
but-
Impact.
Again,
Back to what I was saying
yeah,
about
but
that.
the point is
That the AEW fan that's going, this show stinks that I'm watching. Okay, if Impact normally gets 300,000 people, and this week 600,000 watched it, and I'm making these numbers up completely.
Yeah.
And only 100,000 of those people stay, and the other ones hated it. It was still worth it.
They still, like you say, you can talk all
They
the
trended
mads,
worldwide.
You can say all the mad s you want, but
Right.
if you at the end of the day still get the views,
Right.
Who cares?
What you had across the board was you put yourself, whether it was putting yourself behind an NBA show, putting yourself behind an NFL show, putting the biggest wrestler in a different company on your show.
Mm-hmm.
What you did in each case was you opened yourself up to criticism to an audience that doesn't particularly care for you.
Yeah, like already you're kind of like coming out the gate with an unfair advantage.
Right. But you're not looking to get all a million of those viewers. You can do with a couple more. Nothing else. You know, and maybe they watched the first match. You know, they didn't start till 10. With AEW especially, it didn't start till 10.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they watched the first match, liked it. Maybe they try it next week at 7. Who knows? But you put yourself out there in positions that could be advantageous to you in the future. Going back to this particular show,
Back to SmackDown.
I thought it was interesting that they went with a wrestling-centric show that did not try to shy away from shenanigans, but used them properly. It was a well-done show.
It only had
moved
4
fastly.
matches, and it was quick. It was easy to digest.
Easy.
And it was fun.
It was so easy, and it's generally what SmackDown is.
Yes.
It's why they are consistently. We talked about it earlier. It's why they're consistently top 2 shows of the week. It's why personal preference, somebody will pick AEW, NXT, whatever. But they're consistently what they do, and they do it well, and it's good, especially since Roman's switched around.
Yeah.
They had their moments. The dog food and all that was a little I don't know who all they fired before that was over. But anyway, for me, KP, from a man, Ray, for the lit one.
Hello.
Lit Nick.
That's me.
This has been a Go Home Heat production, copyright 2020. Nick.
Literature Nicholas.
That's right. They call me Literature Nicholas. Why? Because I like to read them like I like to go home.
I swear I thought you were going to say I like to read them like I write them.